Hello folks, Chad Stanton here, a professional woodworker of over 20 years, sharing my knowledge with you. So today's episode, I'm doing this three-legged round coffee table. Now the video itself was kind of long, it was over 50 minutes. So I put on the Facebook page and asked the viewers, how long of an episode you would prefer to see. And the majority of you said somewhere around 15, maybe 20 minutes. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Now, normally I put a video out maybe once a month. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I just do this as a part-time thing. But I know waiting 2 or 3 months to see the whole series of this build is kind of stretching it out. So I'm going to try and do my best to do one every week until this little series is over. All right, so without further ado, let's get going on part 1 of building this little coffee table. These are the pieces I'm going to be trying to make a table out of. I've had this cut off from an oak tree for quite a while now, so I know it's pretty dry. These were some branches I had back in my woods behind the shop. They seem to be pretty dry. And then this is the sketch that I'm going to try and do, a little three-legged coffee table, rustic looking coffee table. So these branches, I got to clean them up a little bit, obviously. I got to get the bark off it and some of the other junk. So I'm going to use my shaving horse and my draw knife. All right, here's one of the legs all cleaned up, and I already got it cut to the length that I want. And let me just explain what I've done. So I want these legs to angle in. I set it at a 10-degree angle. So what I did was I put some tape on it, and this tape is just a reference mark for me. And so I have the tape, in this case, just pointing up. You could have it pointing towards you or towards the back, it doesn't really matter. So I have it facing up, and with my saw turned to 10 degrees, I make the cut. And then what I do is I have a stop block set up here, and so I can bring the leg back down and make sure I still keep that tape facing up, and then I can make the cut for the other side of the leg. A couple of my legs have these checks going through them, these splits. And so I wanted to fill that with some epoxy. Not so much because I'm worried about it moving anymore. I think it's done. But I am going to be drilling into this, and the epoxy is something that's going to be strong to be able to hold my stretchers in. But I know epoxy can get kind of expensive, so what I'm using is this fiberglass resin. I picked it up at actually the auto parts store, and it doesn't dry clear like epoxy would. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got kind of like a foggy amber color to it. But nonetheless, it's doing the job that I wanted to. It went in there, it dried, it's nice and hard, and if I have to screw or drill into this, I know it's going to be fine. Here's what I have so far. I took a piece of 1/2-inch plywood, I cut a triangle out, and I just screwed the legs to it. This is going to allow me to measure the distance that I need for what will be the stretcher that's going to go across in here. Now I took my compass, and I didn't really measure this, I just kind of put it at a height that I liked, and I went around each one of the legs, okay? And then I took a thin scrap of wood, a straight piece, and I clamped it on there right where the line is. And from that, I just simply drilled a couple of screws in, and I'm keeping the screws level with the scrap piece of wood, and I'm also too making sure that they're lined up going from side to side. So I'm going to add a couple more screws here and a couple more screws there, and I'll show you the next step. I have all the screws into the legs, and these screws are going to help aid me for drilling what will be the mortise on the leg. Now to do this, I need a couple of things. One is I got a couple of these V blocks here. I just took a 2x4 and cut a 45-degree notch in it. So I got 2 of those, and I'm going to place the leg on here. And what I want to do is I want to first sight down this direction because I want this screw pointing exactly up, all right? And once I get that, I'm going to put a clamp on it. Hold this in place. Now, I'm going to take a bevel, and I want to match the bevel angle with the same angle as the screw. And once I get that, I'll now remove the screw. Now I'm making these mortises 1 inch wide. So just with a drill and a spade bit, I'm gonna get that started where the screw was. And now I wanna make sure that I move my drill so that it's at the same angle as my bevel. And then from there, I'm going to drill down into the leg about 1 inch, maybe 1.25 inches. So I put the legs back on my wooden triangle, screwed them back down. And now what I'm going to do is I've got this folding ruler with a sliding extending arm on it. It's got another set of scales there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the outer edge of the legs. So I got a 13.25 on it. And then what I want to do is I want to add 1 inch going into the leg. So that's going to be 15.25. All right, now let me show you how I'm making the tenon for that stretcher. Here's one of the tenons already done that I made. So let me show you how I'm going to do this. First, I need to start with this tool. It looks like a cone, and there's a blade on the side here. And essentially, it's going to work like a pencil sharpener on this. So let me show you something. I'll put it on here and just start cranking. Now that gets pretty loud and it's irritating, so a trick that you can do is you can soak the end of this with a little bit of water. The water will take that squealing noise away. But what I don't like is then when I do the water, I potentially could rust my tool. So what I like to do is I get some denatured alcohol. This will make the wood wet, but then it evaporates and it won't rust my tool. So I'll soak a little bit of this in there. Just give it a second or two for the end grain to soak that up. And we'll try this again. A lot quieter. And what I'm shooting for is, I'm not there yet. Let's see if I can get this closer. You can see how it's starting to put like a chamfer or bevel on this. Now what I want to do is I want to keep turning this until that is about 1 inch or less. Yeah, I'm about 1.16 inches right now. So I want to turn that till 1 inch or less, and then I need to switch to another tool. All right, here it is in the vise. You can see I have a good bevel or chamfer going all the way around it. This measures just under 1 inch in diameter. And the next tool I'm switching to is this crazy looking contraption. This actually will cut the tenon. And so this can change in size. I can go anywhere from 1.5 inches, in size down to I think 1/2 inch. So I have it set up for 1 inch. And now what I'll do is I'll set this on here. and that bevel helps get it started, and it will cut the tenon for me. Just like that. And I will do that till it's an inch. Let me see what I got here. Oh, nice. I'm at 7/8. So a little bit more, and then that tenon will be done. And I just have to do 5 more. Before I did my glue up, I actually numbered the legs with the stretchers because the distances were off just by a little bit, and this made sure that everything went together properly. The other thing too was when you notice I made the tenons with that old tenon maker, the tenon was straight, but you know the leg is on an angle. So on some of these I was able to use a chisel and a compass and shape it so it fits nice with the profile of the leg, but there were some that I couldn't. But that's okay because for the design I'm planning on using some rope, and the rope will not only help cover that up, but I think it's going to give it some extra strength too. All right, since you saw it last, it was just glued up. I went ahead and I used some of the Crystal Lac Java stain on it. And then just for pure decoration, I'm sure to add strength though, I added this rope wrapping around it. And I kind of like the look of this. This rope, when it's done, has a lot of these little loose ends. Let me zoom in tighter so you can see. All right, so with the close-up here on it, you can see that this rope has a lot of these little strands coming off of it. And when the whole thing is wrapped up, it doesn't look all that good. I kind of want like a cleaner look to it. So what I found is just by taking a lighter, you can go in and just singe those little hairs off, and it gives you a nice clean look to the rope. Okay, so far I pretty much like the look, but I think I have a problem. Let me show you. Clearly with this top on it, the top is too thick, and also I probably should have had the legs come out some more. Going back, looking at my original sketch, I think I had the display, the angle of the legs more than what I had here. I actually went from 10 degrees, I made it 15, but when I looked at my pencil sketch, which I liked, when I put a protractor on it, it was more like 25, maybe even 30 degrees. I know it's pretty extreme, but I think that was one of the things I liked the most about it, was the really big angle. So I think I'm not going to use this top, so I'm going to find another piece of wood that I think will be more appropriate for the size of this. And I guess it won't be a coffee table when it's done. It will probably just be, I guess, a little a stool, a large stool, because the height of this is about 18, 19 inches, which is right what a chair height would be. So. All right, so let me grab the next piece of wood and see what I'm going to do to try and salvage this project. So I went to my storage shed where I have a bunch of lumber, and I found this 2-inch thick piece of ash, which I think will complement the tones and color of the table that I'm doing. But I do have a problem with this. As you can see, it's a little bit warped. So before I can cut my circle out, I'm going to try and get this more flat, and I'm going to do that with a pair of winding sticks. If you don't know how to use winding sticks or never heard of them before, I do have a video that you can click there in the description, and it walks you through step by step on how I can flatten this, and you don't need a router. And there you go, that's part 1 in this series on a round 3-legged coffee table. Now next week I'll be doing more with the top, and there was some serious issues with it, more than just that board being warped. So you want to tune in for that to see what the problems were and what my solution was. Now if you're not aware of it, I offer a free monthly newsletter that has at least 6 articles or videos in it from a variety of different contributors. So if you would like to sign up for that, there's a link down below for it. And that newsletter is brought to you free from the sponsors of Crystalac, KenCraft, and Frontword Web Hosting. So there's something new on YouTube. Down below where you see the thumbs up and the subscribe tab, which I hope you have already, you'll also see now a thanks tab. And if you appreciate this content and the information that I'm sharing with you, well, clicking on that will definitely let me know that you find this information valuable. Now, if you don't know it, over on Facebook, I have a group page called What Are You Doing? This is a place where you can kind of show off what you're making in your shop, maybe ask some questions of other woodworkers, or just go there to find some inspiration. And of course, as always, if you are working in your shop and you have some questions, well, feel free to write me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com, and I will certainly do my best to help you become a better woodworker. Until next time or next week, thanks so much for watching, and keep on dancing.